Hi, in this video we will configure our virtual machine. We'll start creating it, but for that we will need to do some setup on the BIOS first. So just follow the instructions as you see in the video. I'm showing you how my BIOS configuration look like. So it may vary between different systems, between different computers and manufacturers. So you just have to check that in your computer, how to access the BIOS. It usually is during the boot. You have to press the key F12. It might be F10, F9, F8. So yeah, those are the most basic ones. So let's continue checking here how my BIOS look like on my Dell XPS 7590. Yeah, I think that's the model. So it is important to have the virtualization options enabled, most likely, and if you have some issue, make sure the secure boot is disabled. You might have it enabled, but it might give you some problems in the future. So just make sure you have that disabled. And it's always good to set a password. I mean, I have not a password here for our system to make it harder to access the BIOS, because someone can just turn on the computer and make some changes, and we don't want that. So it's always good to set a password for the BIOS to avoid any undesired changes. So yeah, you see here my system has 16 gigabytes. It's Intel i7. Okay, so we are here now on the Windows systems. We will check the latest updates. There's some optional updates that you can avoid, but make sure you have the latest necessary updates. And we will check now the resolution. I have 1920 by 1080. Sorry, you might have a different resolution, but this is the one I will be working on. Now let's check the power options. Make sure you have disabled the fast startup, this little checkbox. So make sure it's disabled, and yeah. Let's see now. We will have to turn on the Hyper-V options on the Windows feature. So make sure you have this enabled, and if you have disabled and you mark it enabled, the system might require you to reboot, so please do that and then continue with this video. Now let's see, we will go to the VirtualBox homepage to start downloading the latest Windows binary. So this is you can see here it's starting downloading, and it's always good to check the checksum, the SHA sum that it's on the website. This is a way you can check it on Windows. Try to make sure you check the checksum for any software you download from some vendors, as it might be touched, so you don't want someone that touch the binary and add some other features or stuff that it's undesired. So I will try now to install the VirtualBox. You just have to double click and press yes to the different, or next to the different pop-ups. Here it's asking for a dependency, so let's cancel now the installation. It might ask you for other dependencies depending on your system. So in this case it's asking us for some Python dependencies. So let's go to the Python website and let's download the latest Python for Windows. Let's start installing it, and mark the checkbox right there. Okay, so it's doing the installation. Okay, so let's apply the next command on the PowerShell. Oh, well, I will just exit that one because we did an installation, so some variables might not be applied until we close and open the PowerShell. So then apply the command. And it's asking us to update the system here, the Python system. So let's do that. And now let's try again to install VirtualBox by doing double click, next, to the different pop-ups. Okay, we have now installed VirtualBox. Now let's configure the host key. By default it has the control on the right side, so let's make sure we have also the shift, this combination of keys, because we want to use the control for some manipulation in the virtual machine, so make it more configurable by adding the shift on the right side too. So these two key combinations we will set for the host key. We are checking some other configurations that are by default, so if you think you need to change something, just do it. Let's call our virtual machine Debian 12, and we check the type, the version. It's a Debian 64 bytes, and let's add 4 gigabytes. I mean, I have 16 gigabytes on my host system, so I will add 4, and I will make a virtual machine of 50 gigabytes. If you think you will need more space, just add as much as you want, but considering your hard drive. So we are checking here some settings. We will not set the bidirectional clipboard yet, and we will set now the disk file that we have downloaded previously from Debian from the Debian website. Is the ISO image, and here we can set also a folder to share, but we will not do it now because we need to install something in the virtual machine, but we will not do it until we finish to configure the final virtual machine that we will be using. So let's start now the virtual machine. We will start the graphical install. And yeah, if you click on the virtual machine, you might get this pop-up. So just read carefully for you to understand what is the host key. And yeah, it's starting now the installation. Just close this dialog. I will choose English, and the region it's Sweden. So I will choose Sweden, and I will choose this keyword that is Swedish also. I will call differently my host name to differentiate between other computers or systems. I have no domain, so I will just leave it blank. I will set the root password, and I will create a user. For this virtual machine, I will set the same root password because, I mean, this is a virtual machine that I will use for testing, so you can choose for ease the same password. Now let's create manually the partition to host the virtual machine in the hard drive. So I will set 45.7 gigabytes to set the root system with the ext4 file system. So we have 8 gigabytes pending, so I will create another one for the swap. I will be choosing a higher amount just to make sure the system will use the maximum amount that is left, and I will choose the swap area, which is like a RAM using the hard drive. So let's finish setting up the partition. We have now the 2 partitions made, so let's start writing the changes. I don't want to scan any other disk, so let's choose these options: Sweden, Debian.org, and for this I will not participate, and I will uncheck most of the checkbox here, and I will choose just the last 2 ones. We will start install group, which is the system loader. So yeah, it is now starting the system after we have installed it. Let's log in with the user we have created previously and the password. Now let's access with the root user and install some the latest updates and upgrade to the latest. So it's already upgraded to the latest, and let's start now the desktop environment and some utilities that we will need initially. The Synaptic is the software to install different packages, different software on a user interface. This time we are using the shell, the terminal, but we will do it differently later. Let's now set the default graphic system to boot with it, which is XFCE. Now we are rebooting, and you can see it looks better, the group system, the bootloader. Okay, so we can now log in with the user we have created. So as you see, we have like a really low resolution. Let's change that. Initially, the resolution might give you some issues that we will solve later on once we finish to configure the final virtual machine. But for now, let's try different resolutions until you see right resolution. Let's now move the window containing the virtual machine. And this is the Synaptic, the software management. So you can see here, it's a user interface to install the software. So let's configure now the terminal we will be using, which is the XFCE terminal. Let's mark some of these options. Let's unmark some others. You can change the colors, and let's disable the middle mouse for this terminal. I mean, it's the way I like it. It's up to you. So now let's see. We will edit the sudoers configuration file, but we have not yet the user to use sudo. So let's access with the root user. And let's edit this file. You can use Nano or any other editor I rather to use VI. You can use also a user interface editor like Mousepad or some other, gedit, but I will be using this VI. So let's add these defaults timestamp timeout -1 line. This for the system not to expire while we stop using the terminal. At some point, if we want to use sudo again, it will ask us again for the password. So we don't want that. So let's add this line and this other line with the user to have all the privileges for the sudo. Okay, so we have finished this now. So now we have sudo. As you can see, we can execute some root some commands that require privileges of the super user. So let's try to run again one more time to get the latest updates and upgrade to see if there's any. There's none, so let's continue. Let's unmark this box. Let's log in again with the user we have created previously. Again, we have some issues with the resolution. We will be dealing with this for a few times until we finish this course. But later on we will not have this issue anymore. But for now, let's just continue doing this. Let's open again the terminal. And let's call this user interface editor called Mousepad to edit this file, source list, to add some repositories, the contrib and the non-free. For each line that is not commented, let's add these two words, contrib and non-free, as you see in the video. Let's save the changes. There's another way, instead of using the VI editor, just using the Mousepad. You can use any other editor, and as you see, the changes have been made. I'm using here again the VI editor just to show you that the changes are made. And let's apply this command again just to make sure that it will use the two repositories we have added. And let's now shut down the virtual machine. And as you see here, I have nothing on the documents folder on the host system, in this case Windows, and I will export the virtual machine for security. I mean, just to have it as a backup. I mean, I've been working on it a while, so I want to save it somehow in the local system, so then I can import it later on. I mean, if I screw up something, I can just import back again this virtual machine. Let's also create a snapshot. The snapshot is a way to save the state of the machine as we left it on the last time we close it, we log out. So let's log in again with the user. Let's do again this issue. Let's change again the resolution. I'm still having the issue, so let's try one more time. Okay, so it's now good and ready to go. Let's continue doing this. And I will show you here how to install a software using the user interface. You can just press Ctrl F and type the software you are looking on. And in this case I will start installing FileZilla and VLC. And we can just press apply. We are seeing some details here. You can see how the system is downloading the different packages. Now it's installing the different packages, the dependencies, and so on. You can see now that we have FileZilla and VLC on the menu. So I will shut down the virtual machine, and I will save the state of how I left it with the FileZilla and the VLC software installed. And I will go back to the clean installation as we have left it before the installation of these softwares, of these two packages. Just to show you, I mean, this is just a demonstration how the snapshots works. So I left at some point the virtual machine without FileZilla and VLC installed. So you can see here it's not anymore in the menu. And I will restore the snapshot containing the software. This is really useful if you want to try some software before installing it. So this is a good way to try it. Just create different snapshots for the different timestamps you do something, you do some changes. So you see here, it's on this other snapshot, it's already the software I have installed previously. The snapshots doesn't use much disk on your system, so you can do as many snapshots as you want. Now I will delete the whole virtual machine and I will show you how to import the virtual machine we have exported previously, the backup. And this will take us to the time in which we before we create the export. So at this point I have not the FileZilla and the VLC software installed. But we have already in this machine we have configured the terminal, so there's no necessarily to configure again the terminal. So you see here, let's play again with the resolution. And let's continue with these experiments. I mean, I will create a snapshot just to make sure I can just come back to the same state. If I do something wrong, I can just always come back. Now I will install a different file manager. I mean, Debian 12 by default installs Tuner, but I want PCman FM. And there's two different ones, with the Qt library, which is heavier, as you see here, and without the Qt library, which is less bigger. It's less bigger. So let's see how it looks like. I mean, it's not that pretty, but it's useful. I mean, it's a file manager, and this is the one I liked. And it will help us to connect to the host system. So you see here, my host system is called Finmux Windows, and I have enabled Samba on the host system in Windows, and I have shared some resources. So I will connect to the host system, to the resources I have shared, by writing down my credentials. And I will save the password, and I will enter here my password for the user on the virtual machine. Now we have access to the host system. You can see here the different folder structure for the user I have on my host system. I will copy this text file into my downloads folder from the virtual machine, and I will add this bookmark. I mean, I have not the downloads bookmark, so I will add it. And something it's useful to check after you install a server, a system, is to apply this command just to see the different warnings or failures during the installation or during the boot. So yeah, we see here some warnings, but they are not harmful for what we are doing. So let's continue. And I will just make a backup of this file to edit the original one. I mean, I want to edit the alias of the ls command, adding these options. And I will also comment this line and add a different one. Let's see why I'm doing this, because if I apply the ls command, like it shows like this, you will see the difference once I apply these changes. So this is the line I will be adding. So yeah, I have commented the previous one, and I have added this other one. So let's now save the changes on the file I have edited. I will close the terminal and open it again to apply the changes. So now that if I apply this ls command, you can see the difference. It shows in a list instead of a single row. Now I will create this other file, and I will add these 3 lines. I like this because it shows the line numbers on every time I edit a file in the VI editor. So with this you will see the difference. You can see that the line numbers are listed now. And if I look for this word, it doesn't matter if it's it doesn't apply if it's case sensitive. So yeah, let's continue with this. Let's now disable the power management. I mean, you can do changes here. So I will do it here just to show you. You can apply the same changes for on battery and plugged in. Here in the display too, for both battery and plugged in. I mean, there's a virtual machine. I don't want the power management to take over the host system, so I will disable everything as much as possible. But yeah, let's keep this option on. However, I will disable it from the startup. So right here's the option. So yeah, we will just unmark this power management. And I think Debian 12 doesn't have the screensaver using the XFCE. So yeah, apparently there's not a screensaver option. So we can just skip that. Let's check if it's in here. No, it's not there. So yeah, let's continue. Let's install now manually some of the software we use day by day, which is Google Chrome, Visual Code, Firefox. I will install Firefox as a first browser. I will open it and close it a couple of times because there's this annoying thing that I don't like from Firefox. Different options every time you open it, so I will just leave it until it doesn't show any more options. Okay, so we are now here. Let's go to, it's in Swedish, my system, so let's go to Google Chrome, download it, make sure you select the Debian package. Okay, so you can see here I'm starting the download now. It's downloading. Let's go now in the meanwhile to the Visual Studio Code website to download also the dev package. And as always, if you have the chance to check the checksum, if the website provides with a checksum, try to check it. It's a security measure, just to make sure there's no losses while you download the package, or if someone has touched it. Let's now install the dbeaver, which is a database manager. So I will do it with the repository instead of downloading the dev package, because I will explain later. So yeah, let's apply these commands here. And it will add the repository to our list, so that when we upgrade the system, it will upgrade also this package. Okay, so yeah, let's continue doing this. You can see now we have installed dbeaver. And let's install this database demo. So for instance, if I open this SQL editor, I can apply some queries already because I have downloaded this example database. Here I got an error, so it's January, yeah. and I don't want the system to open this pop-up asking to check the update, so I will do it manually every time I upgrade the system, and I don't want this to ask me every time I want to close it. So yeah, we see some failure here. Let's re-download it. Also, I want this angry IP scan. I mean, it's a useful tool to check the systems that are connected to our LAN, to the network, to our local network. So I have downloaded these individual packages from different websites. Let's go now to the downloads. We can see here that it's already there. So I want to change the view of the file manager. So I will choose the detail view. I will open a terminal here. This is really useful on this package manager. And this is a way to install these local packages that I have downloaded from the different websites to install this software. We got some error dependencies for the IP scan, but let's see if we can open it later. Let's continue installing Visual Code. And I will install these other packages that are on the Debian repositories. But let's take a look first if IPScan can be opened. Yeah, it can be opened. I will check later if it works, because we had some dependencies failures, but might be not necessary to install something else. Visual Code looks okay. We don't get any messages. Let's install this code spell checker. I mean, I like this extension because it corrects you, or it highlights when you write something wrong on your code, or yeah, some words in English also are highlighted. And let's go to the settings. I like the word grab to be always on the editor. So let's put it on. I mean, this is up to you. It's not necessarily. I don't like also the release notes to be shown every time the system got updated. So yeah, let's close all these and let's just create a simple file just to keep it there, to take notes or whatever. Okay, let's check now Google Chrome. I don't want to send statistics, and I want to make it my default browser. So yeah, just mark the boxes and or mark as necessary. So yeah, now let's install this software for the virtual machine I liked. I mean, you are free to add or take away software from here. It is up to you. This software comes on the repositories from Debian that are installed by default, and also on the contrib and the non-free we have added. So I will create this script. I will paste this, and I want to put all in a single line. So I will use the VI editor, and with -J you can do this. So we see that we have no execution permission, so let's add this +X to the file, and let's now execute it this way. So you can see it will install 2 gigabytes of packages of software. So let's proceed. Now from here it will take some time to install it, but we are doing it faster with the magic of the video editing. And let's take a look at some of the software we have installed. SearchMonkey is to search for files within the system. LibreOffice, which is like the similar to Microsoft Office, but this one is open source. We have the spreadsheet, to make presentations, to write documents as Word, similar as Word in Microsoft. A simple calculator. This copy queue I will show you later what is it for, but it's really useful. It's like a notepad and also like a clipboard. FileZilla. Some of this software are for the terminal shell. They have not a user interface, but they are useful at some point. We might explore some of this software later. This is a dictionary software. I will share later how to use it, but it's really useful also. grsync. If you work on infrastructure, grsync is a really popular, rsync itself is a really popular software to keep your files up to date. But this grsync is a user interface of rsync, so yeah, it's really useful too. Color pane. We see here that we have not some icons properly. It shows text instead. So let's install some missing software to fix this. Breeze icon theme. Let's see now if it got fixed with that. Yeah, we see now that it has the icons instead of text. Like this tree software, this tree, it's a command that we will use, for instance, if we want to see, I need to close first the other terminals for the system to make the changes. This is a way you can see the file structure with tree. It doesn't have a user interface, but it's for the terminal. Let's edit some preferences on the file manager. This is the way I configure my file manager. I don't want memory to be used while showing the thumbnails, so I will unmark this. Just configure as you want, but I recommend you some of this. This is my configuration and it's working good. I will change here the terminal emulator because just to make sure it always uses XFCE4 terminal, which we have already configured. So let's change that here. And let's use Xarchiver. So yeah, if we open again the file manager, you will see that it shows now the icons on a list instead of large icons. We see here shadowed the backup files and the system files. Do you remember? This is the file I have created previously. So the ones that start with a dot are like system files or hidden files. Now I will delete this second panel on the bottom. I don't like it. And I will change the main panel to the bottom. And I will lock it back again. We will make some other configurations later on the panel and the system itself. But for now, let's take just another snapshot just to continue later on. You can, in the meanwhile, just play it with this, and later on the next lesson, we can just come back to the snapshot we have created. These are the topics that we will cover on the next delivery, so have a good day.